is getting faster. As technology advances at the speed of light, so too does our desire to live ever quicker lives. Faster internet, faster cars, faster trains, and of course, faster superyachts. Traditionally built from heavy steel, advances in technology mean that a wider range of materials is now being used to produce these super vessels. Most notably, aluminium. Aluminium was first produced in 1825 in an impure form by the Danish physicist and chemist Hans Christian Ørsted. By 1895, aluminium was being used globally as a building material. Today, global production of aluminium is in excess of 57.9 million tons, exceeding that of any other metal except iron. It is unsurprising then that this sturdy, lightweight material would make its way into the superyacht industry. One Dutch shipyard trailblazing the way with aluminium is Heesen Yachts.
Heesen was founded in 1978 by Frans Heesen, and at the time he took over the shipyard, they were building a 20-metre aluminium high-speed yacht. So this, back in the mid to late 70s, was quite a revolutionary thing to be doing, and that pretty much set the DNA of the shipyard. The shipyard grew and developed since then with an expertise in aluminium yacht construction. And then of course along came the oil crisis in the 70s, and the Middle Eastern states became very wealthy, and this type of yacht really appealed to them, so there was a growth of high-speed yachts. In the late 80s, an American client came to the shipyard and built Octopusy. The contract was to build a yacht that would do more than 50 knots, and on sea trials she came out at 53 knots, which was then the fastest yacht in the world at the time.
So what is a knot? And how fast are 53 of them? The term knot is actually shorthand for nautical miles per hour and is the approximate equivalent of 1.8 kilometers, meaning that Octopusy reached incredible speeds of 95.4 kilometers per hour.
Hull design is really the key to the whole efficiency of the way a boat works, and there are essentially three main hull designs. There's traditional full displacement, where you've got the full round bilge style with bilge keels, and the yacht will have a maximum speed of whatever its theoretical hull speed is, which is completely a function of the waterline length of the boat. If you want to go any faster than that, you really can't. You put bigger engines in and you just churn up a lot more water behind. The boat will just simply not travel any faster. But then you get to semi-displacement and planing modes, and this is where the power of the engines will lift the boat out of the water. And of course, once the boat comes out of the water, the resistance of the water, the drag of the water goes away, and then you can start achieving very, very high speeds. But the fast displacement completely turns all of this technology on its head. The unique feature of these boats is that they have very long bulbous bows, relatively narrow fore section, and then flattening out at the back. And with this design, you can, strangely, make a yacht that would have a hull speed of, say, 15 or 16 knots, travel at 30 knots, and still sit in the water, the bulbous bow still doing what it should do. Steel, of course, is probably the most popular material for building most big yachts out of, because it's much easier to work with. And if speed is not important, then aluminium isn't necessarily required. We build fast yachts predominantly, and so aluminium is really the only material you can use, because lightweight is critical. You do need a much higher skilled workforce because it's a much more complicated material to work with.
As well as their reputation for their speedy and lightweight designs, Heesen can also boast the title of one of the industry's most prolific yacht builders. Their workforce of 450 makes them one of the largest in the world. And with most shipyards building a yacht on average once every 2 years, Heesen are building an incredible 4 to 5 every year.
The volume of yachts hasn't really changed that much. I think before I came and Fabio came to Heesen, you were talking about 3-4 yachts a year. But the interesting bit is the size was much smaller. You were then looking at 37, 40, 44 metre yachts and only the occasional 50 metre yacht. In the course of my lifetime, there's been a seismic shift in the yachting industry. Back in the 70s and the 80s, yachts were much smaller. A 40, 50 metre yacht would have been a huge yacht in those days. And of course, clients were predominantly European or North American. Today, you've seen the Russians enter the market, the Middle East buyers have entered the market, South American customers have now come into the market. It's become a much more global industry, but overwhelmingly, the biggest change you've seen is just in the size of yachts. Yachts have just exploded in size. Now 100-metre yachts are not uncommon. A 50-metre yacht is an average size. It's unbelievable, this explosion in size. You haven't seen this since, I would think, the golden age of yachting back in 1910, when the big American families were building these enormous yachts that went out of fashion, the advent of the First World War. We're now back there again. We're now seeing these fantastic 100-metre plus yachts being built. They are addictive things to have, yachts. Once you've had a yacht and you've experienced the freedom, the security, the privacy, the valuable time with your family and friends on board, that's a unique experience. And I fully understand why people build more and more yachts and why some families have more than one of them, if you can afford it.
Before these magnificent yachts are built, they have to be meticulously designed, both structurally and aesthetically. A naval architect, also known as a naval engineer, will be responsible for the structural and exterior design of the boat before an interior designer gets to work on the space, ambience and overall look. Frank Lautmann is one such architect, having spent 5 years as Heesen's in-house designer before forming his own company, Omega Architects.
From a client perspective, it probably starts with an architect. He has to understand how somebody uses the boat and what he expects from it and how he thinks that people see him on the boat. It might be very important. So I would say it starts with an architect who makes the plan. The naval architect makes the dream seaworthy, and an interior designer then refines, is more concentrated on the ambiance. How does the client feel and what should I put to this space that makes him feel comfortable, and which things have meaning going inside, which have meaning in their life, what is referring to certain tastes, etc., etc. And maybe that's the hardest part. Many times it's a first-time buyer, so they have experience with real estate, building their villas, for instance, but they don't have experience with building their yachts. So they don't know what to do exactly. Should they make a very opulent, impressive villa, or should they focus on the plan where exterior-interior relationship is more important? Exterior decks, do they want to have a lot of sun? Do they rather go into the shadow, have nice seating areas, shaded areas? They have to find out. And of course they start to talk to us, they start to visit shows, and then it goes back and forth with the designer. Can go fast, can take a long time. A lot of times there's a concept, because you're working with concepts all the time, but to be honest, the client has to come first. You have to get to know him. Sometimes they talk to you, they don't even look at you. And it takes a few days before they look at you and you really communicate and you really start to understand what they want. I started as an in-house designer for Heesen, and then eventually they put me more up front with the owners, because everybody understands if you know the owner, you make a more specific design. I spend a lot of hours sitting in Yalla trying to understand why my owner wants such a big saloon, and really trying to understand how he would feel comfortable there, either with his guests or just with his children. So you go through every room and you see the decks and you know what he was asking, and you really want to know how it works out. So I think it's very important that as a designer you can stick to what people expect from you, that you can build up a certain heritage so that your message gets clearer and clearer.
The 65-metre award-winning Galactica star is just one of many collaborations between Heesen and Omega Architects. Launched in 2013, she was the world's largest fast displacement yacht with a top speed of 28 knots.
Galactica Star was nice. It was based on a briefing, and we just did a concept for what we call an integrated hull and body. So basically we took the first layer from the main deck and we tried to make that as a whole incorporated into the whole of body and main deck superstructure. It came gently from the water with a reversed bow and went gently aft into the water again. And with that we just had the wheelhouse deck as a small superstructure on top. So it gives a different ratio of mass below and superstructure, like a strong man with a strong body and a small head. Made a lot of impression to me. And we just reversed the bow for Galactica Star, and then that was basically the start of it. And we kept the aft arch. We call it integrated hull and body, and that has become iconic for this yacht. Straight lines, clear message.
So, the hull type has been chosen and the yacht exterior designed. Next up comes the aesthetics and interior design of the yacht. Style and taste will naturally vary from owner to owner, but one yacht has really taken the speed and racing aspect to heart.
Aurelia with the motor car racing theme inside. Fantastic design. I mean, that was a great example of where you have an owner who has a particular style that he likes, and the designers picked up this theme throughout. Even the carpets were woven to look like the tread of a racing car. It was great. The wood and leather work and brushed aluminium, very evocative of a sort of 1940s, 1950s gentleman's era of motor racing, sort of Dunhill style inside.
Built by Heesen in 2011, with exterior design by Omega Architects and interiors by leading yacht designers Bannenberg and Rowell, the 37-metre motor yacht Aurelia is a visually striking and one-of-a-kind boat, taking design inspiration from the world of motor racing. With a distinctive paint scheme based on the Porsche Gulfoil, a special license was granted to replicate the brand colours from this iconic design.
And when the boat was launched, we had two Porsches from that era in exactly the same colour at the launching party. It was quite strange to see. And then she's got a big number 10 on the hull, which looks like its racing number, but that is number 10 because she was the 10th yacht in that 37-metre class. And she still does just close to 30 knots. She's the only one that had the gyro zero-speed stabilizers put on her, which because of their weight reduces the speed a little bit. But the result is fantastic. I mean, really works very well.
As superyachts continue to grow, there are fewer and fewer harbours big enough to dock these gigantic vessels. Increasingly, the larger superyachts will drop anchor a short distance from the harbour and head towards the shore in a smaller boat. These boats, commonly known as tenders, are used for everything from ferrying guests to and from land, collecting supplies, and transporting crew. Pasco International are one of the leading tender companies in the world.
Pasco International has been running for over 15 years now. I started having built racing hulls, so we were powerboat racing, so a lot of effort to create a very lightweight, strong hull. And we were using Kevlar and glass fibre products and carbon fibre. Now, there is the same requirement to be lightweight, but for a different reason. Generally for the beam cranes that are picking up the boats into the tender garage, so we're trying to minimise the weight for that purpose, for craning the boats back on board the mothership. The main thing that's changed in the marketplace is the physical size of the super yachts that we're working with. So years ago we were talking 50, 60 metres, now we're talking 180 metres upwards of that. The yachts are huge, which changes the market because being so big, a lot of these yachts can't even come into marinas. Monaco is a bit of an exception where they do have a lot of deep water berths here, but in a lot of other areas, the yacht has to stay maybe 2-3 miles offshore. It's too big to come in any closer, so the tender becomes more and more important for bringing supplies, taking rubbish, and of course particularly owners and their guests transiting to and from the shore in a comfortable, dry manner, whatever the weather conditions. Originally in a 50-60 metre yacht, you don't have the space to have 4 or 5 tenders, so you need something that's practical, that's a crew boat, an owner tender and a workhorse. Now the yachts, we're delivering packages of 4 tenders to 1 single yacht. In that case, it's going to have something like a SOLAS boat, which is a life-saving, self-righting, life-saving appliance, and then a crew tender, which would be a pretty much conventional rib, but with a higher level of finish, which the crew will use for cleaning the yacht, picking up supplies, running backwards and forwards to the shore themselves for their day-to-day operations, and then an owner and guests day tender, something like a beach lander, and then the pinnacle of that is the limousine tender for taking guests ashore to dinner in the evening or in inclement weather conditions where the guests are air-conditioned or heated, kept totally dry, free from spray, as one would expect at that level of the marketplace.
Limousine tenders generally tend to have higher specifications than the regular yacht tenders, and many are customised to match the exterior of the mothership. With the standard of quality and luxury being so high on superyachts, it seems obvious then that the quality of these smaller boats reaches the same high levels of expectation.
Probably more akin to a Bentley or a Rolls-Royce. That's the kind of ride that guests are expecting. In a way, this market has some similarities with the powerboat racing that we used to do before, the same kind of demanding owners that won't accept no for an answer. They want what they want something special, want something individual. The performance of these boats is totally different to what we were doing before. Before we're trying to go as fast as possible, now we're trying to go as comfortably as possible.
Advances in technology and materials are not just changing the way we travel on the water, but also how we travel below it. Deep sea exploration is now more accessible than ever with the introduction of miniature submarines. Established in 1996, Deep Flight are one of the world's leading companies for sleek and innovative underwater vehicles.
Submarines are being treated more and more like toys aboard superyachts, but we actually think of them as tools. So they're tools for providing experiences underwater. Our submarines are based on technology of aviation instead of traditional submarine technology. So they fly underwater like airplanes. So that actually gives it a safety aspect. If you turn off the sub, if you run out of batteries, you're going to pop up to the surface naturally. Our submarines are quite lightweight. They only weigh between 2,000 and 2,500 kilos. So you can treat it much like a normal tender. We only really operate in the visible light spectrum, which is about 120 meters. So 120 meters is about as deep as you want to go, because at that point, there's no more light.
One country that does want to go deeper is China. As part of the country's deep sea research program, a team at Shanghai Ocean University have created a groundbreaking submersible named Rainbow Fish, which is capable of diving to a depth of 11,000 meters.
We are currently researching and developing 4 ocean depth submersibles, or manned submersibles. Idea is to carry out the scientist and engineer to go down to the bottom of the ocean. For the human being, we virtually understand nothing about our ocean, particularly the deep sea. We understand more about the space than our deep sea world. In the last 60 years, it's about over 100 people already into the space, but it's only 3 people to the bottom of the ocean.
Science met luxury in 2016 when Deep Flight partnered with Rainbow Fish to open up the oceans for a whole new world of underwater tourism.
So we are sort of pioneering this idea of submarines from a tourism perspective. So it's not meant as a research vessel. It's not meant as a scientific vessel or a commercial vessel. The idea is that you're down there to experience the ocean environment.
We are thinking the partnership with the Deep Fried is a perfect match, because for the ordinary people, 100 meters is already deep enough. And very, very few people willing to go down 11,000 meters. So by putting them together, we actually build a portfolio. So if you just want to have a dive, have a taste of the ocean, then go for the Deep Fried, Super Falcon 3. But if you really want to go to deeper, we have a more submersible for you. So if you really want to challenge it to the ocean extreme, then we have our 4 ocean depth submersible.
So this is the Super Falcon 3S. It's our 3-passenger Super Falcon. To date, the most applicable sub to resort-based submarine tourism. So this year we've partnered with Rainbow Fish to announce Deep Flight Adventures, which will be providing tours in submarines at resorts worldwide. We understand that not everybody wants to go scuba diving. The oceans are 95% unexplored. So anytime you're in a submarine, the chances are you're seeing a patch of ground that nobody's seen before. So the experience is very much immersive. You're sort of one with the ocean atmosphere.
So next Christmas, if you're wondering what to get the person who has everything, why not consider their very own private submarine? Join us next time as we go inside super yachts.